This is episode 318 of the Super League Pod, where we ask what were the playoff chasing teams up to, who could be the West Yorkshire Wayne Bennett, and is hay glittering? 6 Super League games to review, table possibilities to discuss, a magic weekend to preview. You better strap in, because it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 318 of the Super League Pod. This week you have myself, Mark, a much more positive looking on things Wigan fan, and Alan. How are you doing, Alan?
Yeah, very well. It's the world always looks better when you're in the winner's circle, doesn't it?
Yeah, and of course your Bradford side were big winners at the weekend as well. So we'll get to the championship and other results, but do you want to tell everyone about our episode sponsor?
Yes, so this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. You can find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any order of £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers if you put SLP discount in at checkout.
Good stuff. Thanks, Rob's Toy Shop, for their continued support. I just had an email flash up before we started about my payment to our host, our hosting provider, and Rob basically has paid for that this year. So, what we got coming up? Big news out of Wigan around the head coaching position. So we will discuss that as well as some other bits and pieces in the news. The Super League had a full round of fixtures on Monday, so that's two full rounds out of the last 3, isn't it? So
I'd describe it as 5 matches and 1 unopposed training session, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
6 results.
Yeah. And then things are getting really interesting around all the other divisions as well, but when we do the Super League, we'll take you through the standings in quite some detail about what might happen with the season now with only 3 games left to play, because we know that nothing else is going to get replayed, and fingers crossed we get 18 games done. Yeah, other results we'll roll through those and talk about what's going on in the other divisions as well around Rugby League. We'll even talk about how things are quite exciting in the NRL, but we've got predictions for Magic Weekend to make. That's obviously coming up this weekend, so people might be listening to this as they travel over to Magic Weekend either on Friday or on Saturday morning. If you are listening to this and you are going to Magic Weekend, there will be some SLP presence there. I'll be there Saturday, staying over Saturday night, and I'll be there Sunday as well. I think I'm in the stand. That's not the main stand, but is the sideline stand. Liam didn't know for sure. He's booked the tickets, my Uncle Liam. But he said we've got unreserved seating, so that should mean other people can come and say hello to us.
Yeah, there should be a bit more room to move about. I would expect
people as well, doesn't it?
I mean,
we'll see how we get. We'll see how we get on.
Let's not assume that's going to happen.
Yeah, Saturday certainly shouldn't be too volatile, I would hope. But so if anyone is at Magic Weekend, Sarah plans being up as well, and David's there on Saturday and the Sunday, and loads of the extended faces and names you've got to know and love over SLP through the fan reviews and stuff over the recent times as well should be there as well. So try and meet us and try and say hello. Send us a message. We'll whoever can pop out and say hello and that sort of stuff, we'll say hello. And certainly sort of after the day's play on the Saturday, expect us to be around somewhere. We need to sort of make plans, but I've kind of provisionally said to Dom and Rob and a few others that if we just head to the pub at the start of Chinatown straight after the final whistle of the 3rd game on Saturday, and then see where life takes us. Look out for us at Magic Weekend. We do have a couple of bits of feedback Alan, from other things we've been talking about recently on the show. So our fact checker in principle, Neil Ormston, has been in touch. Shall we run through those before we get into the news?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Neil provided a couple of updates. So firstly, on the COVID update regarding the Catalan game. So he said, to clear this up and give the official line from the RFL, 4 off-field staff tested positive with 3 results received just as the team were about to fly. With no chance to do further testing, the RFL multiple case group decided to postpone the game to mitigate the risk of transmission. Therefore, it was no fault of Catalan and no question of a walkover. Why this hasn't been shared more widely, I cannot say. I've fed back the official channels that the communication here should have been better, and many fans are understandably confused. Yeah, because I didn't get it was the multiple case group that made that decision. I thought it was a Catalan decision, I have to say.
Yeah, apparently there was sort of a hint of it buried in a League Express article that I mustn't have even read to the end of to read that last week. So that clears that up, though, doesn't it? We don't need to worry about whether there's going to be any repercussions from that. Basically, it was taken as a safety decision. It seems like a sensible one. You know, if you can't test people, you can't put them all together in a plane and fly them over for 2.5 hours, have them sat around with each other all day, and then go and play a game of rugby, because that's risky. So it does make sense. I'm assuming there'll be a heavy presence of light and of pitchforks and all that about this is and popping on tinfoil hats that this is some sort of Catalan kind of favouring conspiracy theory from the RFL, but I don't think it is that, is it?
It doesn't sound like it. I mean, there are, whether you like it or not, there are unique circumstances with, you know, taking a flight of that kind of nature. So yeah, they are in a different set of circumstances, and that's a geographical thing rather than any kind of essential bias from anyone over anything else.
Yeah, and the other one that Neil got in touch with was more aimed at me. It was a fact check on the Sinfield Borough quiz that I delivered last time you were on the show, actually. I think it was, wasn't it? A couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Or a couple of episodes ago. And Neil said, Rob Burrow played 492 games for Leeds, not 493, scoring 196 tries and 1,103 points, not 198 tries and 1,111 points. Moral of the story, Mark used the Rugby League record keeper's stats available at www.rugbyleaguerecords.com for your info and not Wikipedia. Caveat, we are working on the 2020 and 21 stats right now, as well as rep and international games. Expect these by the start of the 2022 season. Smiley face. Now, yeah, we've talked obviously a lot this year about the Rugby League Record Club, and it is a very good resource. There's one issue I was having. I forgot my password. And I couldn't log in, and I'd come up with what I was going to do for the quiz, like at lunchtime that day, but I hadn't had time to write it down. So it was about 10 minutes before the show that I thought, shit, I've still not written it down, the actual answers. So yeah, Wikipedia was quicker than trying to figure out how to reset my password, Neil. So but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I have to say that thank you to Neil, because he's reminded me yet again to put my hand in my pocket. So I have signed up tonight, because my answers for the quiz, which I have set, were actually checked on www.rugbyleaguerecords.com. So your site for all of your stat-based needs.
There you go. And happily, the discrepancies between the RLRKC and Wikipedia didn't change what the answers were to the quiz questions. So no significant drama there, but definitely a timely reminder if we needed one to sign up or reset your password.
Yeah, well, it's got an extra fiver, so it's nothing else.
Excellent stuff. Right, that is it for our opening to the show, and thanks, Neil, for those fact-checking and information updates. We'll now get into news from around the world of rugby league.
So we move into the news. And the big news of the week, if perhaps not the most unexpected, is that Wigan Warriors head coach Adrian Lamb is to leave the club at the end of the campaign after 3 seasons in charge. Lamb, whose contract runs out at the end of the season, 2020 League Leaders Shield, and is the reigning Super League Coach of the Year. The 51-year-old, who spent 3 years as a Wigan player, initially became head coach for the 2019 campaign, succeeding Sean Wayne as Wigan boss after the 2018 season. Led the Warriors to the second place finish in 2019. Before they were beaten by Saints and Salford in the playoffs. The Warriors topped the table on win percentage in the 2020 season, obviously affected by the pandemic, but lost 8-4 to rival St Helens in the grand final after Jack Wellesby's dramatic last-minute try. So, not a massive surprise, I would suggest, but what's your reaction to this big news?
Yeah, I've been expecting it for a significant length of time, so it certainly wasn't a shock or a jolt or anything to sort of make me think, oh, what's going on here. I'm pleased that Wigan were able to get a result in, so that this announcement wasn't coming in, in the downward trudge that was going on, that would completely undermine any kind of, reputational legacy that he's managed to leave, either when he was a player or even indeed as a coach, because I do think in 2020 he had a fantastic season, but for sort of the bounce of the ball, the direction of a kick or two, it would have been very different, and I think he would have had even more scope to have a poor year this year from Wigan fans, even though you don't get any scope really to have a poor time of it if you're a Wigan head coach. I think this year has been really disappointing. A lot of that has to fall on Lamb. There's things that have happened this season that clearly are his responsibility, but I think a lot of credit for last year needs to go on him too, and how he's led the club through this very, very difficult period, doing a job that he wasn't supposed to be here for. I think has to be commended. I think in his first year and a half, he improved the individual skills of a lot of the young players, particularly the young forwards. I think that hasn't maybe evolved continuously since then. I think that you can point to many excuses and factors this year, but ultimately there's something gone wrong in the attack of the team, and I think that's why Wigan as a club were probably never looking to extend him past this year. I'm not sure Adrian Lamb would have been looking to stay beyond this year either. He'd seen this team through this period. There's going to be a pretty big change, you'd think, in next year with the team, with one or two key players going after one or two key players went at the end of last year. So I think it's probably right that it gets a new leader of that group, and I certainly wish him the best, and I'm happy for him that he gets to get back to his family ultimately, and hopefully we'll see him over here with the Australian squad in the 2022 World Cup, and we'll get to see him again.
Any speculation about replacements?
Yeah, it's going to be Matty Pete, which is going to underwhelm everyone. Probably with a O'Loughlin and maybe Luluai kind of support, in terms of that might pacify some people a little, and some sort of Sean Wayne part-time job as a kind of consultant or what have you. I don't know whatever they call them nowadays. Seems to me where the speculation has always been leading towards. I don't think it's nailed on. I don't think it's signed and sealed. Certainly don't think anything with Sean Wayne is signed and sealed. Probably not helped by the World Cup being pushed back a year, and Wayne will be focused and determined on doing everything he can to make England win that World Cup. And I think Matty Pete wouldn't have the presence in his own right to not have someone else kind of helping there in that regard. So we'll see if that puts a new slant on it, but I certainly wouldn't expect it to be something significantly different to that, what I've just suggested.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so it's almost, I've almost felt like I've heard that rumour so many times from so many different places That
it's fact.
Not that it's fact, but that it's almost pointless me speculating on